In today's episode, we're going to be talking about marketing ebooks. And a lot of people out there, they want to become an author. But the thing is, writing an ebook is just one small part of the puzzle. Today, I have Nick, who is not only a fiction author, but he actually wrote the book, How to Get Your First 10,000 Readers. And he is a genius on marketing ebooks. So Nick, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. And I have to say, I feel slightly underdressed with the background because you've got this lovely white background going on. I've just got a crappy shelf behind me.
It's perfect.
But,
It's an author's background. It looks
it is
beautiful.
I promise you, the rest of the office looks quite nice. It's just, yeah, bad shelving. But yeah, here we are. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So before we jump into the actual takeaways, I want to talk a little bit about your story. How did you become an author? How did you get into this?
It was one of those things, I think, where you spend years and years trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, but all you really manage to find out is what you don't want to do. So I think my story is quite a common one where you go through the school system and they tell you you have to be X, Y, and Z when you leave school. And you kind of go into university and you don't know what degree you're going to do. I did English literature. Then I switched to law. And then I did that in postgraduate as well. Tried to get a law job after graduating into a recession, which was just really fun. And eventually I wound up doing marketing for a big international company and then kind of went into really wanting to get my own business going. And for me, the thing that appealed to me about having my own business was having some creativity in there as well. So, the idea of having a service-based business, doing something that I didn't really like that much all the time wasn't really too appealing. So it was always going to be something creative. And then Kindle came along sort of 2010, 2011, really kind of broke into the headlines. And I realized, this combines all the perfect aspects of what I'm looking for, because you get to write, you get to do something that you love, and then you get to sell it and do the marketing too. So it's like the perfect all-encompassing business. And, I'd never written a novel before. I'd always loved writing, just loved it. But it's not something that career counselors sit down with you and talk about at school, is it? They don't say, your test scores showed that you would make a perfect author. You should go off and write some thrillers, Who does that happen to? So I thought, I'll give it a go. Worst case scenario, I have a blast writing a book. If it doesn't sell anything, then I will have at least written a book, and that's a major accomplishment for anybody, really. And it turned out that I enjoyed it so much I wrote 6 novels in 18 months, and they started selling really well, and I started focusing on building up some effective marketing strategies. And a couple of years later I'm doing it full time, so it's worked out really well for me. But it was never anything that I planned from the start. I think this is the curse of my life, is I never really know what it is I want to do. I just know what it's going to feel like when I get there. So, yeah, unplanned but brilliant.
Well, it sounds like the takeaway from that is you don't have to know right away what you're going to do. As long as you have some drive, you'll find something pretty cool.
Well, absolutely, yeah. So don't beat yourself up if you don't know exactly what it is you're going to end up doing. Just recognize when it's not right, I think, is the main thing.
So I want to jump into marketing an actual ebook, and that seems like where your genius lies, is in the marketing. So let's say somebody has already written a great book, they've got a great cover, they've done all the editing, formatting, and they're ready to take that jump and actually release it. What is the first step? What's the recommendation once their book's completed on how they can properly market it?
So first thing is, completing a book, any kind of book, is a major accomplishment. It's most people will never manage it. And if you have done, this is a big turning point because you've done something that most people can't actually physically do. So it's really important to remember that. But selling a book online, an ebook or a paperback, it doesn't necessarily have to be an ebook, is like selling any other kind of product, any other internet-based product. You need 2 things to make an impact. You need web traffic, number one, and you need a way to turn that traffic into a customer. So a lot of people have loads of web traffic but sell nothing. And that's, half the battle. So with selling ebooks, you need a way to encourage more readers to find you in the first place. And step 2, convert that kind of random, casual browsing reader into a committed fan. get them to commit to something, and then you can sell to them later on when it's when the time is right. And there's lots and lots of specific things you can do, but it all starts with one, web traffic, and two, convert that traffic into a fan or a follower. And my recommendations are always to look at traffic as essentially it's an unlimited resource. There's no shortage of traffic on the internet. You just have to get it. And you can either go out and do lots of, hustling and get organic traffic, like we're doing at the moment. We're delivering some value. People will see it. People will visit different links. That's organic traffic. It's hard work, but it really, really works. Or you can pay for it. You could do Google adverts, Facebook advertising. There are as many ways to get traffic to your book pages as there are people trying to do it. There is no shortage of traffic. The important thing is being smart with what you do with that traffic. So when people land on your book page on Amazon, or they land on your blog or your website, you have to make sure they become a repeat visitor and potentially a customer. So you have to get them to give you their email address so that you can follow up with them later on. And this is the basis of everything that I teach authors to do, is to build a platform via email. And once you've got those people signed onto your mailing list, when you're ready to release your book or your second book, your first book, second book, 50th book, doesn't matter. You have that built-in audience of people ready and waiting for you who will buy your book the day it's released. And that makes all the difference because you control it. You're not relying on a publisher to do it for you, or Amazon to wave their magic algorithm wand and send you up the charts, because no one knows how they do that. And you're not relying on Facebook. It's all up to you. You control the message, you control the audience, and you control your own success that way. So it's a brilliantly simple concept, but the execution can be quite complicated. So this is what I do to help authors get to that point, is I show them exactly what they need to do to build that platform up, and then how to sell.
So your recommendation before you even release that book, let's say a few months before, maybe even longer, would be to have some kind of website where you're capturing emails. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
And that sounds like it'd be an easy solution for a nonfiction book. Like, for instance, we talked before the episode, I'm going to be releasing an ebook for my company about dance clothing hacking. So an easy thing would be to put up a WordPress site, have some really cool material with a sign up. How would you do that if you're a fiction author?
One strategy that I teach people, which is amazingly effective, is using giveaways, right? So if you don't have a book yet, what you can do is you can buy, let's say you buy 10 hardcovers or 5 hardcovers or 10 paperbacks from other authors in your genre. So you write thrillers. Let's say you go out and you buy 5 hardcovers of James Patterson's best books. You offer that as a giveaway prize. You list this on giveaway networks and maybe pay $5, $10 to get featured. And then everyone who enters that giveaway, you keep their email address. And then once the giveaway is ended, you let them know about your books. And then you've got a built-in audience right there. I've used this, and personally, from one giveaway, had over 8,000 people sign up to my mailing list. And I think I spent about $30. Because the key thing is you're attracting people with a prize that's relevant to your book, so that they're very likely to be interested in your book when it's ready to go. And that works absolute wonders. And that's just one way that you can get people onto a mailing list. Targeted people. We're not talking about spamming people who are not interested in this kind of thing. Only attracting people who are going to like your books in the first place. You don't even have to have a book ready yet. You just get them interested, figure out who they are, and then when you're ready, you can let them know about your books, and it works amazingly.
So once you have all these emails, let's say we have a list, we really worked hard, we have a list of 10,000 emails. Where do you send them to? Do you send them to the Amazon page? How is the email formatted? What's the next step, I guess?
So it depends where you want to focus your sales. A lot of authors, myself included, focus on Amazon. And the reason for this is Amazon is by far the most effective selling machine for books, miles ahead of the others. The others are getting a lot better, but Amazon has been doing this for decades. They know what they're doing, and they've got a very advanced algorithm that works behind the scenes. So if you can get your book selling high in the charts, through your email campaign, then Amazon will kind of take over, much like Google would. If you get a well-ranked web page, your book will rise to the top of the charts. It will get recommended in emails, and it will kind of snowball. So authors love Amazon because you can sell 100 books yourself, and then Amazon might sell another 100 books based on its recommendation engine. So your efforts are being rewarded with Amazon, and it's really easy to see that happen. Now, the other ebook stores are getting a lot better at this. And I found, personally, I like to diversify. So I offer people Amazon, Kobo, Nook, iTunes links. But, if I had the gun pointed to my head, I'd probably focus on Amazon because it is still the most effective way to go. But the emails, I mean, I teach people a very specific launch sequence. So I never recommend getting a ton of people. So let's say you've got 10,000 people on your mailing list. A really bad launch plan would be to email them and say, hey, my book's ready, go buy it here. Mm-hmm. What I teach people to do is introduce some preview content, some teasers, build up some buzz, develop a brand well in advance of the launch date, so that by the time the launch date comes, you've got people begging you to tell them about your books. I get emails from people saying, when's your next book out? This looks really good. When can I buy it? When can I buy it? And you want to build that kind of level of buzz before the launch. Because if you don't, it will fall flat because people, they won't be interested. With fiction especially, you could buy a fiction book. There's millions and millions of titles to choose from. Why do they need to choose your book? Mm-hmm. You've got to prove that to them before launch date. And you can do that if you get their email address. You can send them some preview content. You can tell them about the early reviews. You can give them some background information. You can get them really excited. So I teach people a very specific launch sequence to use that gets really, really good results. So there is a strategy behind it.
Gotcha. So how many emails usually, if you had to ballpark it, before you actually send the final, hey, it's Monday, July 18th or whatever, and the book's published, how many teaser emails do you do before that?
Well, we did an amazing piece of work with another indie author called Russell Blake, who's doing some amazing things. I mean, he's a machine. Mm-hmm. So he's been writing for 4 years, and he's put out, I think, 42 novels in that time. An insane level of productivity. He's got a really good work ethic. And I worked with him on his last launch for a book called Ramsey's Gold, which is a slightly different genre for him. And he wanted to release this book at $7, which is a very high price for indie books. Most indie books are sort of $2.99, $3.99, maybe $4.99 if you're being a bit adventurous. But Russell has built his brand up, and he was releasing at $6.99. And usually when he releases a book at a lower price, it sort of gets to the top 1,000 on Amazon, and he's happy with that. But we worked together to try and improve that. And what we did with Russell was we sent out some preview content before the launch date. So we sent one email that said, we said, hi, it's Russell here. I've got a launch coming up. It's going to be my best book yet, but I want to share something with you for free today. So go download a copy of my first ever book, Fatal Exchange. Go download a copy here for free, and I hope you enjoy it. And then a couple of weeks later, giving people a chance to read it, we sent out an email saying, hey, Russell here. I hope you enjoyed Fatal Exchange, free book. If you didn't download it, if you weren't able to download it, here's the link again. Quick reminder, I've got a launch coming up for Ramsey's Gold in 5 days' time, and I've got some amazing bonuses lined up for you as well. And we talk about the bonuses. The day before, we have a final reminder saying it's launch day tomorrow. Here are all the bonuses. Here's the deal. So look out for an email tomorrow. And then day one of the launch, we gave the links out and we released the cover. And then day 3, we reminded people that it was closing the next day. And then on the final day, we said, the bonuses are going to go away today. If you want to get your hands on Ramsey's Gold and get all these cool bonuses, then you've got 6 hours to do so. And that was the basic kind of pre-launch sequence that we used. And we tied in some great bonuses as well. Now, we were lucky with Russell because he's got 42 books. So he could give people free books as a bonus, which was absolutely fantastic. If you don't have a huge backlist, it doesn't matter. You could just offer something different. You could use another author's books with their permission. You could come up with a imaginative bonus. You could give away audio versions, something like that. You know, the sky is the limit as to what you want to offer. But the idea of offering these preview content to make sure people are really engaged with the brand and are sure that they're going to enjoy the book, and then you're offering some extra value in the form of bonuses, but also scarcity. So all this extra value is going to go away unless you buy the book before tomorrow. And that really motivates people to get up and buy it because, you know, you might, and I'm sure you're the same, I do this as well. I see something come up on my email. I go, you know, this book looks fantastic. I'll get it later. And then you forget, or you never do. But offering some bonuses and some scarcity and telling people it's going to go away and reminding them about it means that they are much more likely to go and actually buy that book. And the results we had at $6.99, we got Russell into the top 230, I think it was, or the top 300 on Amazon. We did really well on the other stores as well. He sold thousands of copies, the highest price he's ever launched a book at. And it was all because of this email sequence that we used to get people really excited about the launch. And I found myself getting really excited about the launch as well. I was like, oh, I want to read this right now. Let me read it. I was getting caught up in my own marketing. It was terrible. But it was really effective, and it works wonders.
The bonuses, how long did you say you offered those for? Was it the first week or?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter how long you offer them for, as long as you put an end date on it, you know. So personally, I think with Amazon, you want to, you know, not make it too long, because you want to get quite a lot of sales through in a relatively short period of time for it to get up the charts. So I think we did a week or 5 days to get the bonuses. But, you know, you could do 2 weeks. You could do a month if you really wanted to. The key thing is that you put an end date on it and make sure you remind people throughout that launch window that this is happening. So the shorter you make it, the bigger the spike in sales. But then if it's too much of a spike and it goes away again, it won't stick up in the charts. You've got to really play it by ear as to what's the best. But it's the concept works whatever kind of length you want to make it.
With Amazon, did they make it pretty easy to add all those bonuses, or is that something you had to manually send out to the people?
We set up an automated system to do it outside of Amazon. So you can't really do that with Amazon unless you sort of upload a special ebook file with those extra bonuses already included. But we couldn't do that with Russell because he had a pre-order. So he couldn't make any changes to that book at all. Like, couldn't even add a link to it. So we had to kind of work around it a bit.
What's the name of the company that you can do the automated sequence with?
So we used just a very simple WordPress blog and MailChimp, which is an email service provider, just to basically run it. And it was really simple. What we did was we offered a bonus or a couple of bonuses. We uploaded them to a WordPress site. We put a password on it, and then we put the password as the first word from chapter 15. So you had to buy the book to know what the password was. And then it was just a case of entering the password into the website, and it worked amazingly well.
That's genius. So Amazon KDP Select, do you recommend that, or do you not recommend that? It sounds like you guys didn't do that for this one.
No, it's really tough. It's tough to recommend it because it's going to be different for everybody. So Kindle KDP Select, for anyone who doesn't know, is where you upload your book to Amazon as normal, but you tick a box that says, I agree to be exclusive to Amazon, and I will not offer my book in digital format anywhere else in the world. And in return, Amazon will give you a couple of perks. It will let you run free promotions, and it will let you run what they call countdown deals, where you can drop your price for a specific amount of time, but still get a 70% royalty rate. And it will also offer you inclusion in the Kindle Owners Lending Library, which is what Kindle Unlimited is, which is a borrowing service like Netflix for books that Amazon runs. And if you're in KDP Select, the exclusive program, your book gets included, which means that people will borrow your book for free, and you will get a percentage of a monthly pot that tends to work out at about $1.25, $1.45 per borrow. It's all a bit complicated, and they've just literally, like in the last week, changed the rules on this. So without getting too technical, the way it used to work was if someone borrowed your exclusive book and they read 10% or more, you'd get about $1.40, $1.25 for that. What they're doing now is they're saying that you will get a kind of prorated amount based on the number of pages that have been read in your book. So people are going to get annoyed about this because a lot of, especially non-fiction authors, were releasing very short books. So it was very easy to get to 10%, and then you trigger the payout. But now it's on a payment per page basis. Shorter books are going to be impacted negatively. We don't know what's going to happen because it's not going to be introduced until next month, but it should be very interesting. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Personally, and this is just the way I feel, I don't like having all my income tied to one party. So if writing and selling books is your only income, or you're relying on it as your major source of income, if you're relying on KDP Select exclusively for that income, that has and will go away at some point. So by kind of going wide, being on the different retailers, building up a readership and building up relationships with the merchandising people at Kobo, who are absolutely amazing. iTunes are amazing as well. Getting onto Nook as well. And, you're getting all this kind of diversified income coming through. It's a lot less risky. You sell less on Amazon as a result, but overall, personally, I found it to be a much safer place to be. So impossible to give a general advice on that, but I think, if you're aware of the pros and cons, it helps you make that decision.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. For nonfiction authors like myself in the book we're writing, if we're just trying to release a first book to kind of get the word out there about something, do you think it makes sense to get the huge volume you'd get from the 5 free days of KDP Select, or do you think there's better volume in going on all the platforms?
So if you're using your book as a lead magnet,
yeah,
the only thing you're interested in is downloads, right? So I might be putting words into your mouth here, but you're not expecting necessarily to make money from the book, but you make money from people reading the book, enjoying the content, and then signing up for something else that will make you money later. So what you can do is, if you go with KDP Select, exclusive to Amazon, you get 5 free days every month. Every 90 days, which you can play with. And free is really, really cool because you get 50 to 100 times as many downloads for a free book as you would compared to a 99-cent book. So you make no money from the book, but you can then, like I said earlier, doing something smart with the traffic, converting it into a subscriber, and then leading them through the sales funnel, you can make that quite lucrative. The alternative is what we call perma-free, which is where you take your book and you put it on all the platforms. So Nook, iTunes, Kobo are the big ones. Put them on there as well. Set the price to free, which you can do on those platforms. And then Amazon will usually price match, and it will take your book down to free as well, so that it's not more expensive than the other guys. And that gives you a permanently free book that's free all the time. You're getting 50 to 100 times more people seeing your book because it's free. And then if you're doing something smart with the traffic and you're sending it to a landing page, you're converting it into a subscriber, they're going through an effective sequence, you can make a lot of revenue from that person if the targeting is right. So that's a great way to get people onto a list, and that's one of the ways that I teach people to do it as well.
That's a great answer. So a lot of people talk about Amazon, and I've heard a lot of ways to game the Amazon system, and one of the things you talk about is keywords. Can you talk a little bit about how to find the correct keywords and what it means to market properly?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing is never game the system, because it will always bite you in the arse. It happens all the time. Stick well within the terms and conditions, because at any point Amazon could email you and say your book has violated such and such a rule that we just made up yesterday, and we've pulled you off all of the platforms, and that can happen. So stick to the T's and C's, but working within the system effectively is what we're going for. So with keywords, this can be incredibly important, because Amazon and the other stores, they're not bookstores. They're search engines for books. So it's a slight difference. It's that mindset shift. You need to think about your book as though it was a web page on Google. So if you were trying to get your web page to the top of Google, what would you be doing? And you've got to do the same thing with your books, because that's how the ecosystem works on there. So choosing the right keywords and metadata, titles, product descriptions, picking the right categories is incredibly important. Quick example, if you're writing a thriller like I do, for example, and you list your book in mysteries and thrillers as a category, you've got 100,000 other books to compete with. And to get into the top 100, you need to be in the top sort of 400 on Amazon consistently to get into just the top 100. To get on the first page, you need to be in the top 100 on Amazon to get to the first page. But if you're in mysteries and thrillers and then a subcategory like pulp or private investigators or action, it's a lot easier. You know, you might only have to be in the top 10,000 books to get noticed. So it's really diving into that narrow market. Exactly the same concept with nonfiction as well. Instead of going after the broad, vague markets, go after the really specific niches, and you'll find yourself a lot more visible and a lot more effective. The same with keywords. If you're thinking about what people are looking for when they're searching on Amazon, you can make advantage of that as well. So a really easy way to do this is just type in a couple of words related to your book into the search bar on Amazon. It will give you some suggestions. Check out the suggestions and see what the level of competition is like. You know, and are these books selling well? And if you've got a good level of popularity, not too much competition, then, you know, that's a good keyword to pick. And, you know, I've got a full free video series that talks about this in a ridiculous amount of detail. But that's the basic concept, you know, looking for high popularity, low competition keywords and categories makes just a massive difference.
Absolutely. So I want to switch and talk a little bit about the other platforms, because Amazon, it is a powerhouse, but I feel like the other platforms are often neglected. So let's start with iTunes. What kind of stuff can you do to work within the terms that iTunes sets and properly market your book?
So iTunes is really cool. And one of the issues people have had with iTunes is it's really difficult to go direct to these guys. So you often have to use a distributor like Smashwords or Draft to Digital, who will send the book to Apple on your behalf. Because to go direct to Apple, you have to have a Mac and you have to download a program called iTunes Producer. Now, I'm releasing a video at the moment, a free video that talks about how you can do this without using a Mac, because there is a way around it. But the concept is the same either way. So you've got this app called iTunes Producer. You enter your book's details. But the key thing about iTunes is they don't have a keyword recommendation algorithm in the same way that Amazon do. So in Amazon, you literally type your keywords in, and those are your keywords. In iTunes, you can't do that. You've got to integrate your keywords into your titles and your product descriptions for them to trigger. So it's even more important on iTunes to optimize that more effectively, especially in the titles, because that's what's going to show up first. And then it's literally just a case of completing all the fields on iTunes Producer and clicking submit. But another cool thing about iTunes is with iTunes Producer, you can actually get your book available for pre-order like a year before you want it to go out there. So if you haven't written the book yet, you can still have it for pre-order on iTunes. You know, they're really flexible with that kind of thing. As long as you work within the rules of iTunes Producer, there's a lot of stuff you can do with it. And they've got a great merchandising team as well. And you're much more likely to get featured on iBooks compared to Amazon. So it's a great growth opportunity, iBooks at the moment, because they're working really, really hard to get more indies on board, because I think they recognize that it's a big market to help them grow. So iTunes is great. Kobo as well, absolutely fantastic. They've got an amazing merchandising team too. Nook's a little bit iffy. They don't tend to reply to emails that well, but it's still a pretty good platform. I mean, they still sell quite a lot of books on there, so it's definitely worth uploading to Nook too. But yeah, it's not all about Amazon. It's definitely worth building a platform on the other sites as well, because then, you know, you're less reliant on just one source. So it's win-win for everyone.
And obviously it depends on the book, but throughout all the different books that you've written and helped to release, if you had to give a percentage of sales coming from Amazon and the other platforms, could you ballpark that?
While I was kind of early on, it was 90 to 95% Amazon.
Wow.
And I wasn't comfortable with that. So I spent a lot of time building up my sales on the other platforms. And as of today, it's about 50% Amazon and 50% the others. So while Amazon is still the biggest, you know, if that went away tomorrow, much less of an impact, which was kind of the goal I was aiming for. You know, even if by doing that I earn slightly less, it's worth it because there's much less risk.
And when you release a book, do you include some kind of email capture type thing where, oh, if you want some extra bonus content, you can go sign up for this email? Or do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I put an advert for my mailing list in the front and the back of all my books. So we use what I call reader magnets as a way to get people to sign up. So in my case, I offer people a novella for free if they sign up to my mailing list. Or you can offer bonus chapters, previews. If you're doing nonfiction, you could do cheat sheets, case studies, anything you can think of. But put a big graphic in the front of your book and another big graphic in the back with a link to your landing page, and people will see it and they will go sign up for it. And that's all just working on autopilot. And if you're combining this with free promotions and permanently free books, that's a lot of traffic seeing your offer and a lot of traffic going to your landing page. And as long as you're effectively capturing those email addresses and then following up in an effective way, that can make a massive difference. So advertise it everywhere you possibly can.
Wow, there's been a lot of information on marketing, and I want to ask you one final question, slightly unrelated, but before we go into that question, is there any other tips and tricks to marketing that we didn't cover that you think we should cover?
There's a lot of tactics you can use, but really I like to think about strategies, like overall strategies should always be about those two things, get more traffic and then be more effective at converting that traffic into a subscriber. And if you can do that, then you have a built-in platform for life. This doesn't go away. This is an asset that you've got for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years that will keep growing all the time and will get more and more powerful. So I think Jeff Walker I watched a video with Jeff Walker the other day where he said, his friends were talking about college funds and retirement plans. And they asked him about it and he said, well, I've got an email list. That's my college fund. When I need to pay for my kids' college, I just send out an email, because he's built that list up over time. And that's what authors can do as well, so that they have this asset that they can keep. And that's what you need to aim for. So focus on that as the end goal, and the sales will come and the recognition will come after that.
Now I want to ask you a kind of a tough question, but I know you recently just got out of your 20s, you're in your 30s now. Do you have any advice for the 20-somethings listening to this? Anything you wish you would have known when you were in your mid-20s that you can tell the audience?
I think you have to give yourself permission to not do what's expected of you. So I think for me, my parents are very much about, you got to do these subjects at school, you got to go to university, and you got to get a job, which is perfectly normal because that's what everyone does, right? This is what the school system is set up to get us doing. Mm-hmm. But if you don't fit into that mold, it can be very stressful. So, high school and university and my 20s were very stressful for me because I thought I had to go down this pre-programmed route, which actually, when you look at it, has only been around for a couple of 100 years in reality. So a lot of people aren't going to be a good fit for that route through life. And it can be extremely stressful because you don't know what the alternatives are. And if I could go back to like my early 20s when I was at university, I'd be thinking, instead of how do I get the best job possible after graduating, I'd be thinking, how can I put myself in the best position to be happy and to do something that makes me feel fulfilled? And that's what they don't teach you at school. And it's what a lot of people only learn when they're close to retirement. So I'm really lucky that I kind of went through all of this and kind of triggered something in myself in my late 20s that said, well, I've had enough of this. It's not worth it. I'm not spending another 50 years doing this all day. And I spent a few years working on an alternative. And, you just got to give yourself permission to be stressed, but to move on and find something that will fulfill you. And it's tough, but you can do it. Absolutely.
I love it, Nick. Where can people find out more information about you?
So I'm at yourfirst10kreaders.com. If anything that we've talked about today is of any interest to you, if you've got a book that's coming up or you're an established author, looking to optimize book sales and build a platform, I've got 90 minutes of free training that's available for you at yourfirst10kreaders.com. It basically gives you more detail about everything we've talked about today, and you can get some results literally within an hour of implementing this stuff. You'll start to see results. It's really cool. So if you're an author or an aspiring author, head on over there. It'll give you all the answers you need.
Something I'm going to add is I did sign up for the email. It is a great example of how you should do email. So if you're an author out there and you were listening to, I don't really know how to send out an email series, sign up for Nick's email and you'll see how to properly do it.
Yeah, just copy mine. That's what I'm here for.
I mean, it's a good first example.
Yeah.
Nick,
very cool. Thank you.
Yep. Nick, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, make sure you hit the big red subscribe button down below. You can also check me out on Facebook and on Twitter, and I release a new video every Monday, and by hitting that subscribe button, you'll get those new videos every Monday. And this is really a podcast. It's also a website. You can check out the website. It's howtodoyour20s.com. I'll put a link right over here as well. And what it's all about is trying to improve your life. And we specifically focus on things that people in their 20s are interested in. So make sure you like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Like us on Facebook and Twitter, whatever. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again on another video.